So Paolo Zani is a young guy who was born in 1960 in Italy, in Cesena. You studied at the ISIA, Istituto Superiore Industrie Artistiche in Faenza, which is a school of excellence for everything connected with surface design and ceramics. And later you studied at Domus Academy in Milan. In your site, you write that you consider your design activity as the homo faber expression and the new application of materials and technologies into the design of mass-produced as well as handcrafted products and spaces. In 1992, Paolo established his eponymous design studio, Paolo Zani Design Studio, which is described as a multidisciplinary design office whose work ranged from design of objects to technological products, interior and graphic design. You have designed a wide array of products, including but not limited to ceramic tiles, hi-fi accessories, porcelain tableware, moquettes, eyewear, chairs, cutlery, lamps, home accessories, tableware, mobile phones, appliances, sanitary ware and faucets and door handles. Some highlights of Paolo's career include his participation to the project La Cintura di Orione for Alessi in 1986, together with Richard Sapper, and the art direction for CR Accessories, which is a manufacturer of home and kitchen stuff, accessories from 2001 to 2012. But there is another important chapter that I want to talk about today, and we will devote a section of our call, of our conversation to that, which is Varli. Varli is a brand that Paolo created in 2009, so it now already is almost 15 years old. Is a new brand for contemporary carpets, and is what you describe an expression of a personal vision of living, a precise aesthetic of the daily life, and of the quality that we would like to find in the things that surround us. You're also active in the fields of research and education, and have been a visiting professor and held lectures in many international schools in Italy and abroad. And of course, last but not least, your projects have been exhibited in several international events, published by main offline and online design publications, and won you plenty of awards. Wow, okay, it was very long introduction, but just to give you guys, to all the attendees and the participants to this conference, to this conversation, an idea, a first rough idea of the variety and breadth of Paolo's experience. Well, now it's time to ask you something, Paolo, and I'd like to begin our conversation by inviting you to think back on the educational path that brought you where you are today. You hold a master's degree in design at Domus Academy, which you achieved in 1986 and 1987, because in those 2 years. My question for you would be something connected to this experience you had at Domus Academy. So if you think back of those times, what made you decide to enroll in Domus instead of any other school, and spend 1 year, move to Milan and spend 1 year of your life in Milan, and eventually you decided to spend your entire life in Milan? And is there any specific course or workshop or people you met that you still remember to date? And yeah, basically, what did it mean for you? What was the meaning and the value for you to join Domus?
It was it was exactly a big change in my life, because in 1986 I was just a young postgraduate student from ISIA in Faenza, and I had just started trying to develop my very first project, my very first collaborations. But Well, there was a time when one encounter was absolutely fundamental for me, because when I did my degree thesis at ISEA Faenza, which was about the design history of the kitchen environment, I had met this person, Carlo Ferrero, who was one of the editor of a beautiful magazine called La Gola, large format magazine, edited by Electa. And this person liked very much my work. And he invited me to be part of a new project that he had just been appointed by the company Alessi. And this was about La Cintura di Orione. La Cintura di Orione was an absolutely new project coordinated by Richard Sappe. Richard Sappe was one of the main and big designer at that time. I mean, one of his most famous product is the Tizio lamp from Artemide. And with him, I had the chance of participating in coordinating this project for Alessi, which was highly innovative, because the project was about recreating the professional cooking accessories, which are normally used in the restaurant and in the five-star hotels, and bring it to the home environment, to the domestic kitchen environments. And Alessi had invited 5 of the best Michelin cooks from all over Europe, from Italy, France, Spain, Germany. And this person, Carlo Ferrero, invited me to help Richard Sappe in coordinating this project. This for me was the launch of my career. At that time, Alessi was one of these big names, big brands, very difficult to approach for a young designer, or I would say almost impossible. And for me, it was like a dream entering into this professional situation. After this project, by the way, there was a beautiful book which was edited right after this, and it was called La Cintura di Orione, and the whole graphics was done by Milton Glaser from New York. And then Alessi was also one of the sponsor company at Domus Academy, and they supported me in entering the institute, in the Domus, which I have to say was for me the second big step of my career, entering in Milan and having tutors, teachers like Magistretti, like Lino Castelli, Andrea Branzi, Gaetano Pesce. So it was absolutely, I wouldn't say it's naive to say fantastic, but it was absolutely fantastic. And after Domus, I realized that for me, Milan was the place at the time where to start my work. And I joined and I gradually started my career. I have to say that in 1987, this was probably the 4th year of the Domus life, and it was the transition time between the very first 3 years, which were highly experimental, highly research in terms of design and tuition, into a more consolidated institute, which then became Domus Academy.
Okay, fantastic. And sorry for the for the short interruption, but I heard that you went on very, very well even without me. So which were your first professional experiences after Domus? So how did you transition from this experience? Here we see you with some of your peers, with some of your classmates, and there is a nice relic of an envelope on the right hand side of the screen, which is probably some precious document that you still hold from that moment. How did you transition from being a student to being a professional that entered the world of design?
I think that I did what at that time was probably the most common way of entering a professional career. I I started joining a design studio. At that time, it was the studio of Makio Asuike, a Japanese designer who had established his career also in Milan. And I have to say that this was the step number one. Number one, because in that studio, we used to design mostly products like home appliances or large scale products, highly technical, where the design was a crucial part, but where also the technological aspects of the product's development were also crucial. The marketing issues and the costing issues were also crucial. So if you consider all these together, the kind of initial step which happened in that studio for me was absolutely important and highly
educational, so to say.
Absolutely, yes. The second step was a change which I wanted to have into the design world, because I had the chance of joining the Massimo Morozzi studio.
Wow, completely different experience.
A totally different experience, because Massimo Morozzi was from the Archisum environment. Also the kind of products that we used to design there were mostly into the furniture, lights, home accessories, where the designer impact and the brands which we were collaborating were totally different. But again, my idea was to gain experience and gain also experiences into the different design world. The third step was when I gradually thought of starting my own career. And for this, I needed, in a way, the support of a regular work and of a regular job, but also the opportunities of approaching the companies and the brand with whom I wanted to collaborate. And the third step was with Daniela Puppa, an architect which operates also in between design, fashion, and was also a very good teacher at Domus for many years. So
then in 1992, so it's almost now 30 years old, right?
Right.
You established your own design studio, Paolo Zani Design Studio, and began working as an independent designer for your own clients, basically.
Right.
Can you tell us more about this transition from working under or with someone else, like the three mentors that you just mentioned, Macchio Zuic, Massimo Morozzi, Daniela Puppa, until to working solo? So what were the main changes that you had to face and challenge in that specific moment?
Well, I always had the idea of having my own studio. This was my goal, was my dream when I was younger. But of course, as I said, I needed the experience, I needed the knowledge, and I also needed the opportunities. And the opportunities is something that happens and needs time. And so I simply decided to gradually started approaching the companies, promoting myself, my ideas, and of course my language. One of the main points, one of the main issues that everyone has to be concerned is that you need to develop your own language, your own story. And this can happen only if you create such opportunities and you have a counterpart on the other side who's able to listen to you and to understand what you are trying to visualize and convert into an idea, into products. So my very first ideas were about furniture. These furniture were absolutely one of the very first projects which I did for Vittorio Bonacina. Vittorio Bonacina is probably one of the oldest furniture company which we have in Italy. They are located near Como in Erba, and with the long histories and architects who have worked with them since the beginning. I'm talking about Gaulenti, I'm talking about Mangiarotti, and here we are talking of a product where the handwork is still very important and very crucial for the production of the products. And so I simply approached the company. I liked their products, and I wanted to see whether there was an opportunity for a young designer to show their ideas. And this is how it started. I met very nice people, a young couple, husband and wife, who were running the company, and they liked my very first drawing. And these chairs, Fulvia and Flavia, who were two sister chairs, and the name came from my passion for cars and motors, because Fulvia and Flavia were two very famous cars from the Lancia automobile company.
Yeah. And then there are some other examples for tableware. This is a project you did for Lagostina in those years.
Right, correct. And Lagostina, it's a company whom I met after the very first project with Alessi. I had developed a good experience also in the stainless steel manufacturing. Lagostina was based also in the same area of Alessi, even though their products were not so highly design oriented, but it was considered a very good Italian company, especially for stainless steel pots. This was another very good story, because when the product was made, and the product was very difficult to be produced, especially the spoons, because with the company, I remember insisting of having a particular shape of the cup of the spoon, which I wanted to be deeper than the normal. And we had problems in the beginning in the polishing part of the product because of the deepness of the cup. But then they also appreciated the idea. And I have to say that in those years, I had met a very good photographer who's Tom Wack, an American guy, very famous for working with different brands, like in the lights. He had also established himself in Como. He was the photographer for all the products of Ingo Maurer, the German company for lights. And through him, I also met young designers like me, who then became absolutely very famous, like Tom Dixon, Mark Newson, James Irvine, who's no longer with us. So it was also a very good experience, because I was able to bring this very good photographer for photo shooting my products, and I was absolutely happy for this.
Understood. Some other examples of your work?
Cutlery is a very particular product, because it's a small object. It's an object that you have to use with your fingers, with your hands, and where the details are absolutely important. And these kind of details makes the difference. But in order to create and to be able to manufacture such details, you have to know very well the manufacturing techniques and the moldings and the process. So it's could be considered an easy product, but it is not at all. And this one was made for Sant'Andrea, another very old company from Vercelli, which belongs to the Sambonet family, an historical brand also for stainless steel products.
Okay, then there is your long-lasting relationship with the CR accessories.
Yes.
So here you kind of expanded your cooperation not just to the tableware, but to an entire world of interior decoration somehow, right?
Correct. True. CR accessories, I have to say that it was a much wider work, design, and professional experience than working on a single product for a single company. The art direction is a highly complicated story, because you have to deal with the company's manager, with the property, discussing the different product languages, dealing with the sales network, dealing with the network of suppliers, which at that time were mostly from Asia, Italy, and Eastern Europe. Means also participating to an international fair, discussing with the suppliers. So it's a very interesting story, because I was able to coordinate different aspects of a company. And I have to say that it was also probably very important for me to be able then, when I started Varley, as you mentioned before, to bring back all these experiences and this kind of a knowledge to create my own company. And
yeah, absolutely, because you kind of have to probably expand your perspective and not just work on the single product, but have in mind an entire company philosophy or brand philosophy, the values that the brand wants to express through an array or a collection, a lineup of objects that each one has its own role, but all need to create a sort of orchestra of messages.
Correct.
And it should be very like a music. When you feel that is sounding good, it means that everyone plays its role in the right way.
Absolutely correct. Yes. In fact, I remember that in those years, when we were also dealing with the different suppliers and manufacturers for chairs accessories, they were also working for several other international brands. And there was a very peculiar coincidence when again I met Tom Dixon in those years, who at the time he was the art director of the company Habitat, whom I mean, everyone knows about Habitat, and those were also the golden years of the Habitat brand. Then again, he did something which became quite common also for my own career, because he established his own brand, Tom Dixon, and I'm 100% sure that he was able to do that also because of the previous experience and work and knowledge developed through Habitat, which in a smaller scale was what I was able to do for myself and for Varley.
Okay, and then you had a long, again, relationship with Fontana Arte, for whom you designed several different products. But even in this case, it's not, I mean, a lamp is not a single product, but is a system. So it needs to be working in and maintain the identity of the brand, but at the same time be unique in different forms. You have a table lamp, you have floor standing lamp, you have ceiling, you have many different iterations, and so also this one must have been a quite interesting learning experience for you.
It was, yes, it was, and I'm very, very grateful for this experience I had at Fontana Arte, because Fontana Arte, when I started in 1994,
let's go back to this first.
Sorry?
I will go back to this one. Rita.
Yes, I started exactly with these products. Fontana Arte is a very old Italian company, and it was created by Joe Ponti in the early 30s. And it has always had this peculiarity of manufacturing glass lamps, highly decorative. Then when it was taken over by Carlo Guglielmi, who relaunched the company after the brand, after a couple of decades where the company had gone down, the property was not very successful. When I joined, the collaboration with Fontana Arte for me was another big step ahead, because the company Fontana Arte had a great reputation in the design and in the light world. Some of the best Italian and international designers were collaborating again after Domus, I had the chance of meeting Magistretti in the same company. Sotsas was also working for them. Again, Gaio Lenti. These are just the very first name that I'm recalling now. And in 1994, I designed this lamp, Riga, which immediately became highly successful, and it's still in production after so many years, and it was considered one of the best sellers for the company.
Best seller and long seller then.
And long seller. Just to give you an idea, the lamp was initially designed to be part of the bathroom catalog of Fontanarte and associated to those mirrors. Then it was the brightness of Carlo Guglielmi, the owner, of thinking that this lamp was probably good also for the main catalog, and he shifted to the main catalog. And this was the great success of this lamp, which even for me was absolutely difficult to understand, because it was a very simple object. The name Riga comes exactly for the name line, something straight and neat.
Yeah. Paolo Guglielmi, very smart guy. And you had also the chance to not design only lighting fixtures for this brand, but also some accessories. I remember very well these CD racks, now a little bit out of fashion because we use Spotify and Apple Music, but also with aluminum, which was one other material that was very much present into the catalog of the company, and then vases. And so you had also this opportunity to explore other dimensions, other product categories, but also to go more and more in depth with your knowledge of how to translate your language using different materials.
Yeah, true. In fact, these aluminum racks, which were made of extruded aluminum, were technically very simple, but the winning idea was to create these modular elements with those kind of profile, and they were suitable for the CD, for the video cassettes, and other thing which is totally disappeared. And they became a very interesting item because they were hanging in the wall, very compact. They could host a huge number of these objects. And the nice thing was also that the company Bang & Olufsen, one of the companies which I always loved for the design concept, very clear and very neat, wanted to have these objects in their also stores and shops, because they thought,
I remember well. Mm-hmm.
They thought that they were absolutely connected with their design language.
So very versatile. Then there are some other examples of your work, but since time is running fast, if you don't mind, since we have already explored a little bit this cooperation with Fontanarte, which was very long and prolific, I would like to move a step forward and let you explain your passion and your experience with flat surfaces. Of course, it's something that comes from your education here at ISIA, for sure. And also the area you were born in is very, very famous for this kind of production and manufacturing. But it's also an industry or a sector that traditionally has been quite devoid of innovation. While instead I know that you were able to, throughout your work, also to make some sort of technology transfer and innovation in this sector, which I think is very interesting to tell as a story.
Yeah. No, in fact, Paolo, what you just said is absolutely correct. On one side, there was my academic story in Faenza and in Emilia-Romagna, where the production of this ceramic tiles is highly developed, and it's a huge district and a huge part also of the Italian economy. But on the other side, there was my personal interest to products which most of the times were either highly anonymous or even though highly technologically developed, they were also highly imitative. They were mostly imitating stones, they were mostly imitating wood, and but they never really developed their own design identity. In this case, Ascot was a very big, very important encounter for me, because I met the company, which was near Maranello, and there were these two young guys, two marketing managers, which they were just put in the company to develop a proper design catalog, design market. And after discussing with them, my very first idea was to bring other materials into the ceramic world. And this material was exactly the glass which I used to deal and work with at Fontana Arte, especially for the furniture. And these were just the glass sheets, which were through some new technology of coating them with highly resistant varnishing, and the new technology of the water jet cutting, which was highly precise and highly neat in the kind of a process. So the idea of combining these two materials and having the tiles and the glass profile or inserts into the tile became very innovative, and became also a different approach to these products. And for me, this was also the starting of a long collaboration which I had with Ascot for many years and for several products. For these things to happen, it's very important to have different elements all together. Of course, a designer with ideas, a company which is open to innovating ideas, but also some technological step ahead that brings all these things together. And this is exactly what I found in Ascot, and which was at that time quite difficult to find into this ceramic industry, I would say.
Okay. So here was also probably a door for you to enter the dimension and the sector of bathroom fixtures. And I know that some of your most recent work has been done in this field, which is since let me say a couple of decades booming, because it's not just anymore a room in the home which serves a purpose, but has become a sort of retreat to enjoy wellness rituals in our homes, in our daily life, right?
Correct. True. Yeah. The bathroom for many years, probably since ever, was a kind of a forgotten and abandoned environment of the house, and never really properly designed like the rest of the home. Then suddenly it became the place where to redesign entirely the space, the environment, the materials. And for me, these are some of the last projects which I did for an Indian company, a large manufacturer of for this higher brand, which they call Quio, for the higher segment of the market. And I was put in charge of the redesigning with an Italian concept, an Italian taste also, which is something that is highly recognized still and very much abroad, to bring a different approach to their products, meaning these faucet mixes and the sanitary ware. And I have to say, if you look at the middle image, this was another interesting point which I was able to discuss deeply with them and bring into a product. You know that in Italy we have the VC, and the bidet for washing yourself after using the WC. This is a very quite unique thing which happens only in the Latin countries like Italy, maybe Spain. Rest of the world, you don't find absolutely the bidet. In India, it was very common to use this, what they called hand shower to wash your body, but it was just and simply connected to the wall, and the water would flow on the ground through your feet. So my idea was to combine these two elements and use the WC body to hold this small hand shower and wash yourself into the WC. The client liked very much this idea, which for me was in a way quite obvious rather than buying separate elements and having them separate on the wall. But then it became a product and it became also highly successful. We had a huge, and you can see it here in the left, in the right picture. In the beginning, we had huge problems with the production, with the firing, with the kilns. The material was not stable. We had to go through several steps. And I have to say that again, my knowledge of the ceramic industry and production, the clay, the molding was very helpful to discuss and to debate all these issues with the client, with the company.
Excellent, excellent. Now let's move forward, or backwards a little bit, and I want to really talk about Varley. Varley has been a fundamental chapter of your life, I believe, not just the professional life, but also the personal life. So in 1998, you had established a partnership with one of the leading Italian furniture brands, Moroso, thanks to someone you met at Domus Academy. And this was then creating the opportunities also to establish Varley. Can you tell us about all of this? It's a very fascinating story.
Yeah, Varley was then a big change in my life, even though in the beginning I didn't realize that, because when I started working at Moroso, one of the things that was happening is that when we were working on this photo shooting of the furniture for the catalog and the still life pictures, we all realized that whenever we needed accessories, like for instance carpets and rugs, there were no carpets, no rugs available in the modern version, in a contemporary version. The best that you could find to go with this furniture, which were also highly designed, highly expressive in terms of design concept and languages, the best that we could find were some Turkish kilim and nothing else. So I simply started thinking, but why it is not possible to have a contemporary version of these rugs, carpets, that goes along with the same furniture, lights, home accessories that we are designing? How is it possible that these simply do not exist? After this, I went to India a few months later, and I met this simple person who was the export manager of a large cooperative society of carpets. And he took me around in his small motorcycle through the villages where this carpet weaving was happening. And I simply didn't know anything about carpets. I had no idea, no experience, no knowledge about weaving hand knotted yarns, wool. And I was absolutely fascinated. I said, and I was visiting small houses, family looms, there were dogs around, a new world which for me was absolutely undiscovered. I came back to Italy. I started thinking and thinking and thinking, and then I started designing. I said, okay, let's try and let's design some contemporary carpets. I showed these to Moroso. This friend of mine, Giulio Ridolfo, was an ex-student of the same year, but he had been into the fashion department. And Moroso liked very much this idea, this concept. And he said, okay, Patrizia said, Paolo, I think that this is a great idea. Let's include Varley, which at that time I have given the name to the collection and registered on my name. Let's give a chance to this collection, and we will include it into the Moroso catalog. On the same year, I was also invited by the Salone del Mobile organization to participate to the very first edition of Salone Satellite, the event for young designers and the schools to bring back into the Salone story. And on the same year, I was having my rugs in the Moroso stand, in the Moroso booth, and I was displaying the same rugs at the Salone Satellite in the same Salone edition. For me, it was like, what's happening? Why I'm having all this together at the same time? I was absolutely happy and fascinated by this. So this was the start of Varley.
Okay, fantastic. I was trying to to share the screen with a nice video.
Yeah, Paolo and Paolo, sorry to interrupt. Maybe for our student that just joined us in Domus in February, so a week ago, if you can tell us what is the Salone, Fuori Salone, Salone Satellite. Maybe they do not know the differentiation, let's say, since they just arrived in Milan 1 week ago, some of our attendees.
Okay. Sure, I will let you introduce your own version of what is Salone, Fuori Salone, Salone Satellite, Paolo.
Should I intervene?
Yes.
Well, Salone del Mobile is the #1 fair for the design furniture world, which means furniture, which means kitchens, which means office spaces, bathrooms. And in those years, it has grown so much that it has, I would say, became the design fair in the world. It's a huge fair coordinated into probably nowadays, Paolo, hundreds of events on the same week throughout the city. And because the fair itself cannot and doesn't want to coordinate the entire design situation. But several years ago, probably 22, 25 years ago.
2009 probably. Or 2010.
Right, correct.
Mm-hmm.
This side story or huge growing events which were growing in the city, in the galleries, in the areas of the city, became so important that somehow the Salone organization thought of intercepting part of this story into a more coordinated and established situation, and offer this to young designers in terms of small spaces, or companies, designers companies which were not yet a company, or also design schools and university, to show, to display, to promote their ideas and their products. And nowadays, Salone Satellite has become a very important and crucial, innovative, and flowering environment mostly for young designers, I would say.
Yeah. And you guys will have the chance to enjoy and visit it, all of these, and experience all of these coming June. It was supposed to be in April, but that's been postponed due to the pandemic situation. It's absolutely a moment where Milano transforms itself. More than 500,000 people reach Milan from all over the world. There are, people, most professional people visit, B2B people visit the fairground, but so many events and places to visit in Milan that is really enjoyable and a design feast, I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back now to Varli, Paolo, because beside the dimension of language, of the surface language, and transferring your expertise that you developed, for example, with Ascot in the ceramic field, etc., to the rugs and carpet fields, it was also a very crucial moment in your life, because you added one new dimension to your profession, which was that of becoming an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. So it's something that for you, as far as I know, has been a fundamental shift in the perspective and in the possibility to really express who you are and bring some messages and values to the other people, to the market, but it means to the other people. Can you elaborate on this? Because I believe it's a very important point that we can share with the students.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Paolo, you know, it was not easy, because having been used in working as a designer consultant for firms and dealing with only certain aspects of the product development, and being, I wouldn't say totally unaware of the marketing or commercial or costing related to the production. But I had a vague idea, but I could only say that at that time that manufacturing a product is a totally different story than selling and distributing and starting from the original idea of a designer. So I didn't have that part of the knowledge of the process. I didn't have the expertise as well. Of course, I knew many people in the design world. I knew many people within the companies. I used to deal with the marketing manager, to the production managers, but I never dealt with the sales agents. I never dealt with the banks or with the financial aspects related to a product development. So it took me a few years, I have to say. In fact, when I decided to quit the relationship with Moroso and move away from their umbrella into a totally independent brand, I took, I would say, 2-3 years to re-elaborate the brand and the company. And this was probably the most difficult part, because we started exhibiting at the Salone del Mobile in one of the main design halls in 2010. So now, apart from the COVID, it would have been almost 12 years that we are participating at the Salone del Mobile. We are participating at IMM Cologne. We are participating also at Architects at Work edition in Milan. And in those years, for me, I have seen Varli growing its own life. One of my main, I would say, concept was that Varli had to be totally self-independent. I didn't want to go and messed up with financial issues, but it wasn't easy at all.
Because you need to make investment, you need to put money into it.
Exactly. But and I was lucky that of course, I had my own designer profession, which supported me into this transition. In the very first few years, I didn't have to live out of Varli's, let's say, business. So I was able to let Varli grow, employ people, increase the number of collaborators, suppliers in India. Nowadays, I am in India, apart from COVID, of course, something like 4 times a year. In 12 months, I probably spend 1.5 to 2 months at the production site. We have developed a very good partnership in India for the production of the carpets. We have also expanded the catalog range into new products which are not necessarily rugs. We have entered. We were one of the very first company in 2012 in entering into the outdoor world, which again was another part of the
big chapter
and living story, like you said before about the bathroom, which was never considered before, and now it's a booming aspect of our daily life.
I see.
So
I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very interesting. So, somehow you are telling us that you must, if I can extract some takeaways from what you said so far, basically becoming an entrepreneur and establishing Varley has been a way for you to leverage your previous experience and also the sensibility that you developed over several years working with industries and with clients on 2D products, surfaces especially, like glass and ceramics, as we saw, and transfer that to a completely other sector and material, still 2D, but very, very different.
Yeah.
And sort of this adventure kind of allowed you to fully express your own design language, but to make it happen, you had to learn even other professions. So not just being a designer, but being an entrepreneur, which means being a marketing person, a salesperson, being a manager, a director, a brander. So it's a kind of expanding your experience, not only vertically or in depth in the design field, but also adding other areas of expertise that complete your profile over time.
Yeah, true. Well, it has to be like this because otherwise it's impossible to run a company. Of course, when I started my professional career, honestly, I never thought of starting a company. I always thought of starting my own design studio. It's a chance that happened. I took it, and I'm now absolutely happy that I took it, but it was a real challenge. And in a way, this I can say that this happened because on one side, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted Varley to be. I wanted Varley to work and to produce and manufacture and design products in the same way and with the same concept that we were doing as designers for the other brands and the ones you just showed. And this was a very clear chapter point for me. The other thing was that we had the chance from 2012 onwards of establishing very good collaborative partnership with some of the best Italian and European furniture brands for whom we are designing and producing exclusive collection of mostly outdoor carpets, but nowadays also indoors, because the story has changed. While in the beginning we were only seen as a pure carpet manufacturers, now the big names of the furniture industry also look at carpet like one of the products that they want to include in their catalog. Sure, and they come to us and they look at us like a design company and to a company that can be a partner in their product development.
Absolutely understood. So you moved from being a B2C company, so someone who thought about carpets as being products for people to put in their homes, to become a B2B company, so someone who can be a partner for other companies in the creation of their own philosophy of living, to complete their philosophy of the living environment, both home and maybe even contract for the offices, etc., etc. Hotellerie, you did a lot of hotellerie.
Yes, yes. Now, I mean, these days, our main clients are some of the top names of the furniture industry, designers industry in Italy and abroad. Some of the top international architects. We are working very closely with them in supplying the carpets for hotels, sailing boats, offices, what also we call the wet areas. Wet areas could be saunas, could be spas, could be resorts. And these are some of the products that we have developed in those years. And this is also a part of our work, which is growing very much. And these carpets could be either our products or customized products from our catalogs or the architect's ideas. And also, as I said before, now the vision of the Varley for the next 3 to 4, 5 years is also to include three-dimensional products like we have just started 2 years ago, which is outdoor lights, seats, home accessories. Last year, we also re-edited an historical lamp from Man Ray, which was originally produced in Italy in mid-74. And we have acquired the manufacturing rights from the Man Ray Foundation in Paris. So the idea is to have Varley more as a global company with a very strong design orientation. Yeah, this is what we call us design weavers. And this is exactly what I have tried and we are trying to do since years, to connect two worlds which are very far, very different from India or Nepal, where we also started working, and our Western design culture, where everything is made by hand. We don't use any mechanical process. We don't use any machine process, and only manual, aesthetic, mental labor, design concepts which are developed here in Italy, in Milan, because the Varley is an Italian company. And we are producing handmade products in an area which is mostly India, where these products have an history. So I have to say, Paolo, that I'm very proud that we created this kind of a bridge between two countries, two different languages, and two worlds which don't necessarily touch each other.